And for the White Sox, we said the same thing about the Brewers. You're entering must-win territory, and they let one slip away last night, Bo.
Well, it may have slipped away, but when you look at the Guardians, they actually took the game. And even that 5-game lead is more like 6 because they won their 10th game against the White Sox last night, so they hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah. Yep.
So the Guardians is one of those teams that I've said this all year long. They are a very dangerous team. And when you start thinking about roster construction, they put this team together with good intention of understanding their strengths. When you look at the Guardians, they do one thing really well, better than everybody in baseball. They make contact. They have the lowest whiff rate in baseball at 20.8%. And what does that do? It puts pressure on the defense to defend the baseball. And because they keep pressure on the defense, what I love about this team is you don't see a lot of ace swings when they get to 2 strikes. Right. You look at all of these at-bats with 2 strikes. They're looking to get their B swing off and make sure that they're able to put the ball in play. When you start to look at their at-bats, they grind at-bats. They have great strike zone discipline. They do not chase. And because they don't chase, they force the other team to bring the ball into the strike zone. It also creates more run-scoring opportunities for them because of their strike zone discipline. And then you look at their ability to run the bases. They steal bases. They have an 80.6% success rate in stolen bases. They make the pitcher pay close attention to all of the runners that get on base. When you think about their ability to steal bases, it buys batters in the batter's box better pitches to hit because of the base running. When you start to look at their base running, this is one of the best teams in baseball going first to third on singles. That's a catcher running right there. Hedges on a base hit to center field, he goes first to third. When you think about that, they create more run scoring opportunities in their pitchers. What I love about their pitchers, they throw strikes. They throw strikes, they get hitters out with their pitches in the strike zone. So when you start to couple all of that together, you have a team that's sitting in first place because they are a complete ball club. Let's go back to last night. When you look at this, here is a tough at-bat in Hedges. It's a 0-0 game. It's a 3-2 count, a slider off the plate. He just puts contact to the ball, gets a sacrifice fly. They fall behind, but they're able to come back. They tie this game. Here's a base hit to center field. The center fielder lays back on this ball, and what does Ramirez do? He goes first to third and keeps the pressure on the team. Now, the next batter comes up. Instead of it being first and second, it's now first and third. Fly ball to center field. It's a sacrifice fly. They get the extra run. When you look at all of these scenarios, it's what we call championship baseball. And that's why the Guardians are in first place, because they play championship baseball.
There's no question about it. And I will tell you this. What are the 2 most important things you need to do to advance in the playoffs? You need to have great starting pitching, and you need to have great situational hitting. And most teams are kind of out-muscling and out-talenting teams during the course of the season. When you got the Dodgers and those kind of clubs, Houston is a different story. They do a little bit of everything. But if you can situationally hit in the playoffs, you can win baseball games. I have a feeling that these guys are going to go much deeper in the playoffs than people think, even though they don't have the overall talent that other teams have. And you see that in the run differential, obviously. But I think this is a ball club that has a chance to go much, much further. And I think Tito's done a great job with this club.
Yes, they remind me a lot of talking about Dayton Moore and roster construction, putting your team together very intentionally. You look at that 2015 Kansas City team.
Yep.
It reminds me a lot of that team. They didn't strike out. They threw strikes. They played defense. And when you look at this team, you see a lot of the same resemblance. They're able to steal bases. They keep pressure on the opposing team. And when you get into the postseason, yes, we look at the 3 natural outcomes, the home run, the strikeout, and the walk. There is something about teams that can make a pitcher. You look at last night. They had Dylan Cease. It was the 3rd inning. He was at 62, 63 pitches. Because they grind that bats out. They get into your bullpen early, and now when you start to talk about a deep series, they're going to start to get to those middle relievers a whole lot earlier.
So Cleveland's kind of like last in home runs. The Kansas City Royals were 24th in home runs when they won the World Series. I mean, you know, they had a ton of doubles, and we're like third in doubles or something like that. But this is exactly what Cleveland can do. And I do believe if they get the good quality starting pitching, they got a chance to do some serious damage in the playoffs.
You know, talking about Terry Francona teams and run differential and things of that nature. In 2007, I think Bob Melvin taught everybody when he managed the Arizona Diamondbacks that run differential is a little overrated, right? It's not one of those things that every World Series winner has in common. The same way low strikeout rates are something that World Series winners have in common. Teams that hit for contact, teams that hit for high average with runners in scoring position. These are the gene traits of World Series winners. So regarding Francona, he's had teams with more stars. He's had teams with more wins, on pace for more wins. Is this his best personal managerial job?
I think it's definitely his best job. When you start to look at their run differential at 69, what happens in these close ball games is, one, the things that don't show up in the box scores. When do you start a runner 2-2, 3-2 to stay out of the double play? When do you go get your starting pitcher, even in a loss, to preserve your bullpen as you move forward in that series? When do you play the infield in? When do you play the infield back? Terry Francona has pushed all of the right buttons with this ball club because they don't have that superstar power or a lineup that can change the game with one swing. From a managerial standpoint, you can make managerial mistakes, but if you have 4 or 5 guys in your lineup that can change the game with one swing, they can basically make those mistakes look better. When you are managing a team that the margin for error is not that great, it tells you just how good of a job Terry Francona has done this year with this team.
I guarantee that Tito is having the most fun actually managing this because he's managing the game. He's not like throwing those cards out there and just letting guys bop. He's actually having to manage the game. He's being a manager of the game, and that's the fun part about baseball. And I guarantee you, after all of these years, this has got to be one of his most fun years this year.
He's got the youngest roster in Major League Baseball, too. So, you know, the good part of that is you've got all that youthful enthusiasm. You've got all that complicity and guys that buy into the messaging pretty quickly. You also have fewer super-duper star egos to manage. The bad part of it is potentially what we'll discover moving forward, and that's nobody's really been there before. So watching this team in the postseason is going to be a lot of fun. One final question I have for you on Francona. I guess at the All-Star break, we all had Brandon Hyde punched as Manager of the Year. It's always the guy that does the most with the least, or the guy who has the lowest expectations. I don't know that we can pick just one in the American League this year. That's going to be a tough call.
It's a tough call. It's a really tough call. Because of everything that we just said about Francona, when I look at Brandon Hyde, I look at the Baltimore Orioles and just what they were projected to win and how well they've played. That's what makes that conversation a really tough conversation.
Yeah, just fantastic. And you know, and you start thinking about guys like Dusty Baker. I know that was a great ball club, but he's also done a heck of a job with that ball club as well. So, I mean, there's some great choices, some great managers out there, but I think this is Tito maybe his best work ever.
That's great. Let's share it. Man, if Billy Sims and Charles White could share a Heisman, I think they shared a Heisman. Do I have that right? My college football stuff's not that sharp.